Right, that should be it. Oh, good God. Right, so what have we got then? Oh, oh shit. Oh my God, that's the smelliest thing in the world. Hello and welcome to JDStone Creations. My name is Johnny and this could damn well be the last vlog I do on my mini DSLR mirrorless camera Lumix thingy. So let's make it a good one. Behind me is my new Yamaha MODX8. Now, it's not quite new. I bought it from a man who smokes, and as a result it took me 4 attempts to clean the front surface to make it so that when I play the keys, after 5 minutes of playing, I don't go, ugh. Now I can play it and go, because let's face it, this feels good. This is a good keyboard, but not when it's full of tobacco smoke and cigarette and tobacco. They're different things. Anyway, I digress. So, although the surface of it doesn't smell and everything seems fine, inside, however, is a different story, because as much as you can clean all of this, you cannot clean in between these, and that's where the smell is coming from. It still smells of cigarette smoke, but the thing is, I didn't really notice, because I've been playing at, you know, this distance, which is a normal thing. I haven't really had my head at sort of, you know, that. It's only when my friend came over earlier, she sat on this buffet, even though I offered her my captain's chair. She sat on the buffet just to the side here, and was watching stuff on the computer, and all was good. And then she just all of a sudden went, "Why can I smell tobacco smoke? No, cigarette smoke. Why do I keep getting those mixed up?" And it took me a moment to figure, because I'm just sort of looking around going, the hell? I've never smoked in my... Oh, it's that. So, what I've done is I've cleared my sofa. And that, to me, looks like a good place to turn that upside down and disassemble it. Well, after all of the trials and tribulations of buying this thing and worrying that I bought the wrong thing, and crucially that I hadn't bought it on finance and I should have got the loan, and oh, I've got it cash, and well, I own this thing now, so I can do whatever I want to it. Time to disassemble it. Well, it must be said, I don't think Yamaha wanted anyone tampering with this thing, because you ain't gonna get a normal screwdriver down these gaps, are you? Handily, however, they have mini screwdrivers, so I can get straight to work and start unscrewing the top panel. I'm basically going to set the camera down, to about there. What's that looking like? Hey, that looks like there's a keyboard there and whatever. That's one thing to note. All of the back and side ones are shorter than the front ones, which makes perfect sense. Let's take out all of these. This seems to be the thing with modern keyboards, is that they just use all of the same screws, because, well, it just kind of makes sense to do that, really. Back in the older days when they actually made synthesizers out of wood and metal and things, it's almost as if they just kind of used whatever screws they had lying about. Right. Try again. Maybe all of the screws need to come off. Right, that should be it. Oh, good God. Right, so what have we got then? Oh, oh shit. Oh Oh my god, that's the smelliest thing in the world. Oh, good god. Wow, there we go. So this is what your £1,000 gets you. Gets you a few circuit boards and a screen, and then a power board with some inputs and stuff down here. Another board that deals with USB and stuff on that side, and that's it. Obviously you don't have your power supply because that's on the outside, so, but yeah, once it's all apart, it's a big flexy woolly thing. Good god, that smells absolutely horrible. Can I pan out enough for you to be able to see all of that? Could probably do with some better lighting in here as well, but never mind, I can't be bothered. Well, that's the inside of the MODX anyway. I don't know what I'm doing. But then again, when do I? So before I do the next little bit on this, which I guess will be disassembling and cleaning and stuff, there's 3 things that I'd like to point out. One is the complaint at, I suppose really, just the position of some of the buttons, namely the pitch bend and modulation wheels. Now, when people look at these, you know, if we go over to the Triton, we've got this on the left of the keyboard, and that, as you're playing along, is really easy to grab because it's in range of the keys. But in comparison, that has them, well, in relative terms, it has them up here. Now, I agree that, well, for instance, if this keyboard had it up here, that would be, you know, a bit of a stretch. It'd be up here. But the thing is, that's an 88 key keyboard. That's never going to be out of reach. It's a big thing. It's always going to be on the bottom tier of a rig. If you have it on the top tier, a piano weighted thing, you're probably a bit of an imbecile. So, sweeping statements, Johnny, sweeping statements. But here's the thing. There's 2 reasons why that is a good idea, or rather, necessary idea. One is the fact that actually, with 61 keys, so I can agree with the 61 and the 76 key, it may not be a good idea, but it's lower down. And I'll show you why in a second. On this, yep, fair enough, we've got it in range, but if it was up here, and it was an 88 key one, once I get my hands up to here, and I'm 2 octaves up to the top and I'm going, if I've got to reach all the way to the bottom of that keyboard, I'm going to be in trouble there, to be honest. Whereas reaching there compared to reaching there, well, clearly up here is better. And I'll tell you why it is actually physically necessary in a design point of view rather than an ergonomics point of view. Now, you might just happen to notice that there is a whacking great sodding weighted piano thing there. I wonder why they only put it there instead of, oh, I don't know, there. That's basically the main reason, is because they physically couldn't fit it under there. I suppose you could move it half an inch down, but even then, as you are actually moving the pitch wheel, yeah, it's probably gonna, yeah. So, physically, they couldn't move that. Now, the other thing to address is build quality, I suppose, which is, well, all of this, all of these posts, they're all big and solid, and instead of just having a small contact patch that, I don't know, either glues or is pressed or formed, injection moulded, that's what I'm looking for, into the plastic. They've got these big boxes at the bottom of them, and they're nice and solid, so, yeah, I don't expect to be screwing anything into these anytime soon, and then all of a sudden here it goes snap as it rotates and then screws itself, literally. And build quality wise, well, I think they've actually thought ahead with this, which is, well, they've got these, you know, you've got the metallic side panels, and it turns out that they are very easily removable. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. The whole thing comes out, and by the looks of things, yeah, you could make these end bits out of wood. what I might actually just be tempted to do is take these off, spray them a different colour, make them bright blue to match the screen and the Yamaha-iness of it all. And the third thing that I was going to mention is, in order to actually clean this key bed, it doesn't look like I have to remove all of these metally bits. Although, actually, there is a bit of a hook there. I don't... No, because, look, we've got all of this flex and everything. And bearing in mind that this flex doesn't actually matter, because once it's actually screwed together, the whole thing's all proper and rigid. But all of this metal bit basically forms a strengthening beam between all of these screws and all of this rigidness and rigidity. There you go, that's the word, not rigidness. And screwing into that, so it all triangulates itself, so it's all strong enough. But this entire key bed looks as if it will come away from the front here, because I can see that there is a gap just forming in there, because that's what it looks like them screws went into. And it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I can just reach there. 8 screws, and it looks like the whole key bed comes out. And since I have 18 minutes until my tea is ready, I'm going to have a go at that. Well, it's a good thing that the bloke never actually sent me instruction manuals or anything, because they probably would have told me, oh, if you do this, you void your warranty. Technically, I never got told, so... oh well. I'm sure it'll be quite easy to remember that the tiny screws go in the tiny holes and the long screws go in the big holes, so... lift that out. Ah, lovely. Just a nice coating of dusty dust. And by nice, I mean horrific. So the construction may be cheap, but crucially, it's very well thought out. But then bearing in mind that this is by far the most modern thing I've ever bought. Okay. Oh my god, I pulled something out there. I don't know whether I'm supposed to do that or not. It's too late now though. Oh. So, after you've got rid of your piano weighted thing, that's what you pay £1,000 for. Sorry, no, 1,400 quid. Can anyone see why I quite like old-fashioned keyboards that... I say old-fashioned, I mean sort of like early 2000s things. Get them once they've depreciated. Problem is, with the features that this thing has, I just wanted it now. There aren't any keyboards that have the part select things that allow me to not have to do patch changes and stuff, so... Right, I'm going to get a decent dusting thingy from somewhere down there and do some decent dusting thingies. Right, so there's basically no dust down this sort of front centre bit where the keys are. It's all just down this back bit. Just a little shout out to Yamaha. Thank you for building this synthesizer properly. It's turning out to be very, very easy to clean. If the rest of it is this easy to maintain, this is going to become a very, very favourable synthesizer. And yes, this isn't actually a cloth, this is actually just my old pyjamas. But I got a hole in them. I put my arm through the sleeve, but it didn't go through the sleeve, it went straight through the armpit, so I gave it a wash, and now it's a cloth. Oh, it moved. It's fine. I hope. I touched the bit that I've already wiped all the stuff into the Dettol surface cleaner and it's all slimy. Can't smell a thing. Amazing. Right. Oi. Let me do this piece of camera. So that's basically it. Disassemble it, get a rag, clean all the dust out. Dust captures moisture, dust captures smell, and as soon as you move it, it releases it. If you remove it, there's no smell. Simple as that. Just about to put this back together, having sort of cured some of the smell problems. And I thought I'd just show you how all of the graded hammer action works. Because of course graded hammer action means that not only do you press a key and you have a hammery thing that goes boing 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 in the opposite direction to make it hammer. You have heavier weights down here, and you have lighter weights up at the top. Now if you have a look at these... Come on, you've been quiet for 10 minutes. You've got these weights, which are the hammers in effect, which basically come up and hit... do you know what? Hang on, give you a second. I looked at this in detail when I'd lifted it out, so why not just lift it out again? There we go, now I can rest it on the floor. Yep, and the camera's back up here, right. So now that we're down at the bottom of the keys, you press the key and we've got basically a very, very simple action there. So it's not super mega hammer action, but you know, we've got a grease lubed thing down there, and we've got the normal pressure sensitive things down there, which, to be honest, with how compact all of this setup is, I can see why they did not have aftertouch, because where the hell you would fit aftertouch? I suppose somewhere down here, but even then, there's not a great deal of room. So basically with the hammer action, you've got these loops. You come out here and down there. And then depending on some of the keys, I think it's the black keys that have less hammer on them. See that? So you've got that one, and then the black key has less of the metal. And the further down you go, once you get to about here, which is from the second F up the keyboard, you've got less of a hammer there. And then we get to the F above middle C, and I'm just looking at the ribbon cable there, but yep, there's even less hammer. And then we get all the way up to the top, and they run out of hammeriness. So that's basically it. That's graded hammer action. There is just less hammer for it to actuate. It's quite funny. The actual construction of it isn't strong, but once it goes into all of this case, it is actually a really nicely and cleverly built thing. You can tell that they've reduced the cost, not necessarily in the quality of materials, because if you actually look at these felts and things, the fact that that's memory foam, so that every single time the hammer goes back down, it will make sure it comes back up and it hardly leaves a mark. There, you've got that indentation, which I can't actually feel that with my finger. It's more of a mark on it rather than in it. And then you've got this felt that the hammers then hit back up against. And there's 4 layers of... There's a layer of foam, then there's felt, then there's foam, then there's felt. And it's just lovely and cushioned. So they've just chosen the materials cleverly. So yes, it may be cheap feeling, but it's cheap feeling because they put a plastic case on it. But to be honest, didn't exactly make the AN1X over there any less desirable. People loved that thing when it came out. They absolutely love it now. And the same with the SY35 over there. So, yeah. Cheap in some ways, but actually very cleverly built. Whee! And here we are many months later. I believe 6 months later. Was that filmed in January, February, something like that? I can't remember. And everything's changed quite a bit. You'll have noticed there were shelves and things there and whatever. But yes, I'll come back to that another day. Oh, that's where I put my phone. And the MODX, or the MODX, or the whatever you want to call it, is still running strong. I have no key click on any of the keys. They still make a decent thunking noise for every single one pressed, but there are no clicks and no problems. There is only one problem I've had, which is during a gig, this key decided to just sort of hold down on, I believe, a song that was in C sharp, so that sounded a bit funny. The only reason is because of something that I did. Now, the observant among you may have noticed that I fitted this blue stripe. Of course it had to be blue, because, look, there's blue. Blue matches blue. So I've done other things on, similar things on my keyboards. For example, the Triton has a red stripe. It also has LEDs in 2 different places, but I digress. It used to have a black piece of felt, and what I did to keep the black piece of felt was I taped it onto the inside of the keyboard. Oh, that lighting's going to be terrible. There we go, is that any better? So there is actually a thing taped onto the inside. I think it might have fallen off and it might be rattling around. A piece of felt doesn't rattle around, but yeah, in short, there hasn't been a single issue with it. Oh, there is one other modification I did to the MODX, which is I fitted a screen protector. Now, I paid stupid money for that. It was like £14 imported from Germany, until I realised I'm pretty sure this is exactly the same size as a sort of Galaxy Note or a small tablet or something. So if you can basically measure that and then go screen protector, I don't know, 4x6? Well, let's measure it. Do I have a... Oh, how handy. Ooh, can I operate a tape measure with one hand? Hup. One hand and my knees. That'll do. So what did I just say? 4x6. Oh, not quite. I was wrong. 3.5 by 6. Okay, so I got one of the measurements right. Yeah, so if you get a screen protector that's 3.5 by 6 inches, you're good to go. But that just means that these scratches that I can actually feel with my nail, they're not on the screen. They're just on a piece of plastic. So get yourself one of those. And also, get yourself some of this rubber matting, because it means you can put another small synthesizer, or a module, or a mixer. Yeah. In short, this keyboard has been flawless. I'm quite happy with that. So yeah, I sat on that footage for 6 months and never uploaded it. I went through a deep depression and never uploaded anything else. So thought that this would be a good sort of rekindling of keyboardy things, because I'm hoping to focus on that. So more soon. As always, stay creative. But the intro's not going anywhere. I'm keeping that. MODX.